So I got an inquiry from a couple whose dog, adult dog, who's kind of a pup. He's like about 1 year old. He just gets kind of overly excited and doesn't know how to stop. So maybe someone comes to the door, he starts barking, then he doesn't stop barking. Then he's jumping all over the newcomer, rubbing himself all over the newcomer and just licking and kissing and just loving on him. But sometimes that's not a good way to be. We love that our dogs are excited to greet people, but we also want them to know how to calm down. So I'm going to teach you guys how to combat this with just one word. Now, I noticed as soon as I started working with Kiwi that Kiwi was already just sort of jumping around, super excited and just playful. But to me, that's not a bad thing because I could actually use that energy in the training. In other words, I want to get him that amped just to be quiet. And that's the one word we're going to teach him today is quiet. So Kiwi already had a good foundation of dog training down already. So he knows his sits and his down. He knows go to his bed. But oftentimes I find owners have a hard time implementing these cues into their life in a way that makes sense. So instead of trying to use the same cue in a different way, what we're going to do is we're just going to piggyback off these cues and just add the word quiet in. So when he goes to his bed, he knows he needs to be quiet on his bed. So all of these things have to sort of come together at the same time. Now, trainers will call this shaping a behavior. Now, let me kind of explain a little bit about what shaping a behavior means. Now, if a dog already knows a cue, this makes it way easier. But sometimes, like some trainers won't actually teach them a cue at all. They'll just wait for it to happen. So I'm going to use sit as an example. I might sit in a room with a dog and say nothing, okay? I won't give them a cue. I'm not going to try to guide them. I'm going to wait for the dog to sit. Eventually, they are going to sit. And when they sit, I'm going to click. I'm going to use a clicker, or in this case, I could say yes. And then I'm going to mark that behavior with a treat or some kind of reward. It could be a ball or good job or whatever, right? But I want to make sure that I'm marking the right thing. So it has to happen as soon as the dog sits. In this circumstance, it's going to be when the dog is quiet. Very good. Quiet. Good boy. Quiet. Good. Quiet. Good. Quiet. Good. So it's important to keep in mind if you want to try this at home that your dog is not going to understand what you're trying to get them to do. So I want you to think of shaping a behavior as sort of like playing charades with your dog. You have to give them a little bit of guidance, and that way they'll kind of start to put two and two together, right? So his thought process was a bit like, oh, if I go to my bed, then I get a treat. But there's another step here. It's not just I go to my bed, it's also I go to bed and I be quiet. And so I extend that for as long as I can without any judgment of getting it wrong. So if they do get it wrong, well, I just bring them right back to the bed and I try it again. Good. Quiet. Quiet. Good. Now, after doing this a few times over with Kiwi, so I've practiced this a little bit for maybe about a half hour, 45 minutes. Kiwi is now starting to understand that when I say quiet, it means go to your bed and be quiet. Although he's not quite sure about it just yet, so it kind of took him a moment to figure it out. What I started doing was eventually I just would say the word quiet and see what he did. I would just give him the space to figure it out. He's a smart boy and he was able to figure that out pretty quickly. Kiwi, quiet. Very good. I made sure to inform the owners that this is not going to go that smoothly when someone is in the room and he's excited, okay? So you have to keep that in mind. I want you to practice this as much as possible while it's easy. And that way when somebody does come to the door, you could just say quiet, he goes right to his bed and relaxes.
Kiwi, quiet.
It was an absolute pleasure working with Kiwi. Such a love bug. I do love the love bugs the most. I'm kind of a sucker for the ones that are super playful. There's no like aggression issues I have to worry about. Just a love ball who just gets a little too excited when somebody comes over. And so this is the kind of case that I really look forward to.